Hi there, everybody. This is Mark Bromley, the artist and author of the Yoranthium book series. And today I am comparing the movie Poor Things to my book, Yoranthium. I highly suggest that you guys go out and get my Yoranthium book. It is actually a lot better than a lot of the current movies that they're making these days that tend to miss the mark. And, well, it kind of shows. Now, today's review is going to be of Poor Things. The artwork for the Poor Things is actually my freehand work of Poor Things. So I do hope that you like the background work and the drawing of one of the main characters in the movie and the uh, typography that I used for creating Poor Things. I did find out that the author creates his own typography and his own artwork as well, which is pretty good too. I guess me and the author of the book, Mr. Gray, Alistair Gray, uh, we actually do have a commonality in that we do like Edgar Allan Poe, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to find out because I actually felt that this movie was actually kind of like a Mary Shelley more than an Edgar Allan Poe. I felt that when they were showing Godwin, Godwin's creation in the movie is different than the book, but in the movie he looks more like Frankenstein's monster. He's been referred to as the monster as well in the movie. So yeah, there's going to be some spoilers up ahead for Poor Things. If you don't want the movie spoiled, uh, you can stop listening to this right now. But if you don't mind it being spoiled, okay, let's move on because this is a review. And yeah, when we get to God, when you find out that it's a Frankenstein story, there's a little bit of brain swapping that goes on. It's like taking a mother's brain and replacing it with a child's brain. I think it's kind of a bummer right there at the very beginning when it explains all that because you start to realize that, the mother's probably in her mid 20s to 30s, which means that, the child's basically going to be deprived of about 30 years of life right off the get-go, which means that she's going to probably get like 50 years in the time setting, probably another 50 years if she's lucky with the body that she has because it's her mother's body. And well, it was quite interesting in that regard. Now, the thing that I have to say is that I do highly recommend you getting my book, Yoranthium, by going to uranthiumbromley.com and ordering the pre-order for the Lost Hope book. I'm trying to create a 100 book sales. Once I sell 100, I'm going to actually release them, and that's going to be a limited run on a limited ISBN. So that ISBN will be the first 100 books released of that type in hardback with the cover art that you see here with a back to back cover. Now both covers I actually did for this video because I didn't want to get in trouble for any kind of copyright things or anything like that. So I created my own artwork for the imagery there. I had a little bit of time before I actually created this video, and that's what I did with it. And yeah, that's why it's a hand-drawn piece that I created myself. And I found out that Alistair Gray is also an artist himself. I think his writing is actually pretty good, very good, actually. This is one of his later books. My book is one of my first books, and in comparison, I would have to say I think we pretty much complement one another as far as that's concerned. As we went on in this movie, I would say that the acting was phenomenal. It was really good acting, good actors, but unfortunately, some of the acting dilemmas did show up in there that could actually ruin an actor's or an actress's career because of the way it was depicted, and it was a little raunchy. It got a little bit into the porn area, and it just probably was probably inappropriate to actually go in that direction. Some of that stuff could have been reduced. I mean, um, they could have not have told us about that. They could have just kind of let us imagine it for ourselves, kind of like a show don't tell kind of deal. and I believe that was the fault of the actor. Not the actor. Sorry, I'm not blaming the actors. The director, and the people uh, creating the script for the movie. I think they probably walked really, really far away from the book to create their own. Um, well, I think they pretty much slid in a porno instead of an actual movie, and that kind of actually ruined the whole entire movie itself because it turned into a porn movie instead of an actual decent movie that it could have been. The movie that it could have been, it wasn't. It kind of fell short on that just because of the porn itself. Although the initial sum to create this movie was 35 million, and I guess when they sent it out to box office, they got 171 million. So this is actually a very good show. It does kind of give you a I wonder what people are really actually interested in these books. Did they even read the book? Probably not. I didn't read the book. I'm just reviewing the movie and what I saw in the movie. So the book could probably be totally different. And it's probably a lot better um, than than what actually took place in the movie. But acting was good. The story was good. The conversations they had during the movie really, really excellent. Good material. All of that's good material. The artwork was really, really good, but I suspect that they may have actually dipped into a little bit of artificial intelligence in their artwork, and which means that they may have done a lot of green screen for this movie. It kind of shows, you can tell when you're looking at kind of AI images, because the AI is just oddly off. So I think they augmented actual art with AI art in order to spiff up the movie some. So that's okay. That's all right. They can do that, and it kind of shows. It's kind of my art style, so I'm actually kind of impressed because the Yoranthium book series would work well with the way that they went with the art. If you've seen some of the AI stuff I was doing with the Yoranthium book series, the buildings, the landscape, and stuff like that, it's pretty much a match for this movie. So I think the art direction was pretty good in this movie. I think that was pretty solid, and it showed pretty well. So I think, again, me and Alistair Gray, me might actually get along quite well and quite famously in concepts of art and literature and drawing. Like I said, we both like Edgar Allan Poe. That's pretty good. But I think they should have said Mary Shelley more for this movie, and I did do Gothic literature as an honors course when I was at Western Colorado University, and we went through like Anne Rice and stuff like that, um, things like that. So, well, anyways, what else did I say that was actually pretty good on this thing right here? I also said that the plot was good, a good plot, and overall, I'd say that was great, but the directing was kind of shit because there were certain parts that they could have removed from the movie that would have made it a lot better. I mean, when we start to realize that it's kind of making fun of some dysfunction uh, with the character at the beginning, which kind of got into a dangerous territory of what they were actually depicting at the beginning because there were some scenes that were a little bit too dysfunctional, too abnormal. I guess if you were doing Mel Brooks' Frankenstein and you were Igor in the lab and you had the healthy brain and you dropped it on the ground saying oops and saw the abnormal brain and you put that in there, that's fine. But then there's also a comparison of what a normal person's brain would look like. Uh, if they're not being abused or mistreated, then there's the abnormal brain if you're being mistreated. And I thought there was a little bit of a disconnect in understanding how children think and how adults think. And it just got a little too off the wall at the very beginning. It kind of looked a little neglectful, a little abusive, a little kind of cruel. So it didn't really yeah, these movies, when they put children in these movies, they shouldn't do it. Even if it is an adult actress pretending to be a child, when you get explained that the brain's a child's brain and all this stuff that's going on is being aimed at basically a child's brain, you sit there and say, okay, you guys have just kind of blurred the lines of things that you maybe don't want to really turn it into that kind of thing because it kind of degrades the film. I mean, all the stuff was great. It was a great movie. It's a great movie. I say that you guys can go look at it and watch it and stuff like that. But it's kind of derogatory and degrading and a little bit it's kind of like if you're an actor, you probably want to go die in this thing because it could kill your career the way that it was actually being portrayed. And the director, I think, just wasn't good at making movies because if they would realize that you don't really have to show certain things in order to actually let people know in their own mind that this might be happening in the background somewhere, that there's a better way to actually do that without actually having to go that direction. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, you're seeing her play with dicks and the body parts, and they're showing genitalia, and it's like, why? Why do we need to go there? We don't. We didn't have to go there at all. And it's not important to sell a movie because of the porn elements that you actually offer. It's not important. You don't have to do that. If you're actually a connoisseur of good films, you don't really necessarily need to go in that direction. Uh, you could actually save time. The movie was about 2 hours long, over 2 hours long, and I think it was mostly consumed by porn shots more than actual good theater. And that's my biggest complaint about a lot of that. See, I'm very careful in my Yoranthium book series not to go that far into creating that kind of image. I try to keep it decent and clean, but some people don't. And I think this movie just didn't keep it clean enough that it should have actually been a lot more cleaner, which was kind of one of the poorest things about this movie. And suppose the pun actually works pretty well there. And that's basically what happened. And it goes through that whole entire movie. They get onto a nice boat. So I like the boat. The boat was nice. They got a little ocean voyage going on in this thing, and it worked out pretty well. And then there was the difference between rich and poor in the movie, and that was explained. And it was kind of a cruel, mean trick, and how it all went down there. But they could have solved the whole cash issue if she just had told the ship captain that it was one of their crew members that had the money. Then they could have probably got that. But I think if they actually explained how those guys lost that box of money when they ran into their own community, well, it would have been a good thing too. But that was never shown actually, so they could have easily resolved that, and that could have nipped that whole thing in the bud. That dragged her into the bordello of smut in the movie, which was completely unnecessary. We did not need to see the brothel. The brothel part was just uh, pretty much nonsense. It was just pandering to perversity, and that really wasn't important. A lot of that could have been cut out for other highlights to the movie. Uh, I mean, she could have actually later in the movie, when she runs into her first husband because she's in the wife's body as the child, she could have told him that. Well, she did. She did tell him that she's his child, which he had difficulty understanding. But if she had done that at the wedding place, at least she would have been in a room with two people that could have protected her and stuff like that from kind of the weird stuff. And Godwin was there, the doctor. He could have explained it, that it was a surgery that he performed. But they never got to that. Never even got to that explanation part. And they could have simply resolved a lot of stuff a lot easier if they had actually thought about how the characters interact a little bit more. I do like the fact that they had a little bit of black and white, how her world was black and white at first when it starts off and she's in the house. But when she gets out of the house, then it turns into a color movie and you see all the color. And that's how her world becomes. And she goes out there exploring and stuff like that. But at some point, if you had an intelligent mind that was actually really curious and creative in experience, trying to relate experience to science, I think she would have called in that whole situation about the brothel before that even started in this movie. And so I don't think she actually ended up being an intelligent character, more of a dupe for the most part throughout the whole entire book there, which I would still say get the Yoranthium book series because it's actually better. And so, yeah, I'd say that there's like some redeeming values of this movie that's that's interesting. It does say that the movie going public, there's something wrong with the movie going public, like they've been programmed to accept this smuttiness. I guess they're accepting what Epstein and Weinstein kind of productions still, and but they've gone way above and beyond in this smuttiness that they start showing in these movies. And this is a movie for a lot of audience goers. I'm pretty sure it's R rated, so it's for adults. But it's not a. It probably deserves an X rating because some of the stuff going on in there. And I don't think it really helps an actress's career to actually go in this direction. A lot of actresses complain about doing this kind of videos because it does actually turn them into scream queens. Back in the 80s, scream queens were there just to scream and yell, and then that was it. That was the end of their acting career for a lot of them, and that's kind of sad. And to talk them into that and say that you do this for money or not at all. But you know, $171 million. Hopefully, the acting cast got a good paycheck for the whole entire thing, and it's actually pretty good. But my book actually is a lot more clean. I'd say more like Edgar Allan Poe, reading Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, where it stays family friendly. It's not actually uh, damaging or anything like that. I'd say my books are good for like 15 on and up because it does require a little bit of maturity. And I think if you're going to say that you follow Edgar Allan Poe, Edgar Allan Poe didn't write a lot of terrible or things that you see in this movie happening. It's kind of like what happens. This movie is basically like what happens if Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein got together and had a child, and the Bride of Frankenstein died, and Frankenstein decided to save the child of Frankenstein by putting the child's brain into the Bride of Frankenstein. You guys understand that? Well, that's basically what this was. And it's become a pretty long review, and I can say a lot more things about this that actually went on throughout the movie and stuff. There was a part where she ended up becoming more intellectually challenged by people that challenged her to read because I guess they were sickened by her naivety. And she goes throughout most of the movie being that way. And towards the end of the movie, there was uh, another character created just like her, a child's brain in an adult's body, and they start mistreating that person and as if they didn't count or matter. And I thought that was uncalled for. I think that level of cruelty was really uncalled for, and I don't know if it's written like that in the book, but if it was, it's probably not the right way to go about it. And I think that's a real downturn because it seems like they were beating up on minors in an indirect way by saying, "Oh, these are adults. These are adult people, but we're going to put child brains in them." But if it's still a child's brain, it's still a child because it's what that is, and it's kind of like neglect and abuse aimed at a child, and it kind of gets into that bad situation again. And this is why I'd say As far as the directing goes and these parts of the story go, these elements add like child abuse, molestation, exploitation. Yeah, this kind of yeah, this kind of ruins the book, and that's why I have to give it a shit rating because yeah, you just don't do these kind of things. I mean, the pandering, the gender bender thing, the fact that there's one of the one of the state legislators I'm running against for political office wants to gender mutilate children. Um, it just seems wrong and inappropriate in these kind of movies. It's not a good title. It's not a good statement. And I don't think that ever should have been in movies in the first place. And so that's why I give it the final shit for the thing. So acting good, dialogue good in the story, the dialogue, how it flowed, not in what it was used for. I mean, the use was terrible. Um, the directing, not a good thing. And if it's written like that throughout the whole entire book, I would definitely have to say my book, Yoranthium, is a better, higher quality book by far. And I would highly recommend that you go and get my Yoranthium book, Lost Hope, the first book of the series. I have three of them. There's the Book of Gentru and Land of the Potentate. And Land of the Potentate, I get into some more of that concepts about the exploitation that's happening within our current theater and films and movies being produced that are open to the mass market of consumerism. And well, all I can say is that you're going to have to read the Uranthium book series to start to understand what I'm talking about and why it takes more than three books to actually explain all these concepts because they are rather engrossing, time consuming, and very important. But my Uranthium is my first book. This poor thing is Alistair Gray's, well, several books later down the line. And so he has a lot of experience writing by the time he writes this one. But my book, I didn't have any experience writing. I was just kind of just writing just to write, just to try to make an income. And I think, if they're spending $35 million on these films and they're making 171 million, some of those millions should come my direction for my book, Uranthium. So help me out. Get the first release of the limited edition pre-order publishing. I'm going to make a maximum of 100 of those. And so go to my website, uranthiumbromley.com. There's the signed copy you can get, or you can go to the pub and you can get the just the hardback book itself. And I highly recommend that you get the Yoranthium book. Help me out because I'm actually putting together a much more decent book than what Poor Things actually ends up being. Well, that's the difference right there. And yep. So I'd say it's kind of like a thumbs up, then thumbs down, and for Poor Things. But Uranthium, the book series, is a thumbs up. So there it is. My writing's actually a little bit better than this. So thank you very much for spending the time here in my comparison of there. Go ahead, contact me, send me emails if you like, and get my book, Uranthium. You all have a great day. Bye.